Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another True You podcast with me, Paula Burns, Creative Confidence and Visibility Mentor. So, this is a place where we have open discussions to understand who we are in order that we can live our lives to the fullest. And every week, I bring on a special guest who shares their version of their true lives. I say this every time, but I always like to remind you as a listener that we are all so different and we all have a journey. So, the true lives that you'll hear about on this podcast is not going to be the same as yours. It's not going to be the same as another person that you might know. It will be absolutely unique. But what I aim to do from these podcasts is to inspire you to realize that you can go on your own journey to live your true life. And so, without further ado, I am going to go straight in and introduce my guest. Welcome, Kirstie Lilith.
Hi, Paula. Oh, it's amazing to be here. Absolute delight.
Oh,
Thank you for inviting me to come onto your podcast.
it's absolutely fabulous to have you. I love just having these conversations because I love to hear the variations of the journeys that people are on and the variation of the lives that they are living right now. So I'm interested, and I know that everybody who is listening is interested to find out more about you. So just to kick things off, tell us a little bit about what you do and about you as an individual.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm Kirstie Lilith. I am a channel, author, and mentor. So I work with people to help them to understand what their soul purpose is and help them to connect to their true, authentic selves and to live the divine life that we're all here and meant to be living. And I completely agree with what you said, that everybody has a journey, but we're all unique and
Mm.
we're all different. And I love working with people to get them to realize their uniqueness and how special that they are and let go of that whole comparison energy.
Mm. There's so much of that, and especially in today's society, isn't there, where we're all looking at everybody else and saying, "Oh, well, it's all right for them," or "Look at what they're doing," "Oh, they've got this perfect life." And honestly, they're probably those people who are posting up and know that they haven't got a perfect life, but they're just showing their show reel of their life. And it's just important for us to realize that comparing, what is it? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So honestly, just comparing ourselves, it doesn't help us in any shape or form. So I love the fact that you've used a lot of the keywords that I use as well, true self, really connecting with who you are, knowing who you are as well. Um, and and what is it that you absolutely love about what you do?
What I love is meeting the different people.
Mm,
I love whether it's I'm giving guidance sessions, whether I'm teaching, whether I'm mentoring. I love that point when whoever I'm working with, they just get it.
yes.
There's something that just clicks in them that changes everything. And I never know at what point that is going to be
No, yeah.
and what it is that's going to really trigger like a chain reaction within them. And it's just, and I can like nearly feel and hear the anchor just kind of dropping.
Yeah. Isn't
And
that a fabulous
yeah,
feeling? It's very similar to how I feel as well with my clients. There's so much synergies with us,
yeah,
isn't there? But that change and that shift is, I call it a little bit of, I've been saying this recently, after people have a session with me, they almost skip out the door. They're
yeah.
skipping out because they're so much lighter. And it's such a great feeling.
It's amazing. And I love being able to make a difference.
Yeah.
Just in general, for the world as a whole, but then be able to make such a difference in people's lives is, yeah, just phenomenal. To me, it's a huge privilege, and I am very grateful to be able to do what I do and help the people in the way that I do. It's just amazing, and it's continually evolving.
Yes.
And I wanted to just touch on something that you had said about when we were talking about the comparison, that I like to keep it real. But when I'm talking to people, whether I'm standing on a stage speaking, whether I'm doing mentoring, whether I'm doing one-to-one work, because it's so easy to look at people of where they are now and see just the glitz.
Yes.
And I'm going, no, everybody like real, look behind that. And it's taken people a long time to kind of maybe get to where they are, and also what they present. Whereas I like to people to know my life is not perfect, and I don't believe anybody's life is perfect. And it's actually understanding that, and then people seeing you at the level that you are now, and I'm talking about like my channeling here, that and they think, oh yeah, it's nearly like they think I just woke up one morning
Yes.
and just was like, oh, I'm able to channel at this level.
Yeah.
And I go, no, this took years of dedication
Yeah.
to achieve this. So all the work behind the scenes, it wasn't like I was born like this, that it takes that work and dedication.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, they look and they admire you, and I don't like being put on a pedestal
No.
because it's understanding everybody's real, everybody has their journey, and it's not all sunshine and roses, and it's usually taken a lot of work for people to get to where they are.
Yes. Yeah. And it's also, understanding those steps to get to where you are as well, because, it's not always a straightforward path, is it?
No.
You can be walking one way and then, oh, okay, a bit of a stumble block here, and then, oh, I've got to climb over this, and then, or you sort of realize, well, actually, no, this isn't really what I want to do, or it's so there's a lot of movement in that as well. So there isn't just a clear path. And
Yeah.
again, that's what a lot of people think. It's easy for you to get to a particular space, but it really isn't. And having said that, I want to come into our next question. Excuse me. Our next question is, I want to ask you about your childhood, because I feel whenever I get into this side of the podcast, I always explain that talking about your childhood and where you came from at that stage of your life, there's always some link to what you're doing now because of your personality or your upbringing or all of those things. It links you back to the thing that sort of like where you find your flow, which is where you're living now. And so I love to talk about that. So just tell us a little bit, what was your childhood like?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I completely agree. There are usually links between the childhood and where you are now. And my childhood has really shaped me into what I'm able to do. And I think the space I'm able to hold for others and the compassion I'm able to bring and the level of understanding,
Yeah.
because I didn't have an easy childhood at all. It was quite abusive, very toxic, and that really shaped me into setting me off really on the healing journey that I embarked on over a decade ago now. And it was by me having to, I didn't have to, but my soul choosing and my human self choosing to walk through that path of like the childhood and kind of like unpicking everything and
Yeah.
recognizing what was my stuff and recognizing the majority of the stuff wasn't mine to hold on
Mm,
to. And that has shaped my woundings, my patterns of not being good enough,
yeah.
not being lovable, being too sensitive, being too emotional, uh, all of kind of those, and having to work through them at various levels over the years. I find healing's very cyclic, and then you kind of go down to deeper and deeper level.
Yeah.
And but because of that, I mean, I'm very grateful for the childhood that I had and the experiences that I had, and because it shaped me into who I am. I have a resilience that I wouldn't have thought was possible, and yeah, I have those sensitivities that still crops up every now and again about not being good enough.
Mm.
That core wound, like and that, and when also on the validation, seeking validation externally to you, I've recognized that when you don't have a supportive family unit when you're growing up,
Yeah.
you don't have that validation aspect mirrored to you of what it's like to be loved and validated and feel safe. So when you grow up, you tend to look outside of yourself for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's something that last couple of years, particularly, I've been working with on myself
Mm.
to me being my own validation
Yeah.
rather than looking outside of myself. But I've understood the root cause of it.
Of what? Yes, yeah. And you know what? You something that struck me with that you said you learned to let go of the things that weren't yours to hold on to.
Mm.
That is hugely powerful because especially when you're young, so many things that we take on board of ourselves, we we collect them and we hold them so tightly and think that's us, and it really isn't. It's not us. It's not ours to hold at all. And that was such a beautiful way of you putting it, letting go of the things that aren't yours to hold.
Yeah, I was carrying so much. Uh,
Mm,
and I recognized, I think it was in my mid to late 20s, that I started to look at myself for the first time and really had no identity. I
mm,
didn't know who I was, my identity as Kirstie, because she didn't exist. She was just a collection of what other
thing.
people told me to be.
Yes. Yeah. Gosh, and I'm sure like people listening can actually relate to that because I can relate to that as well. I feel it's only this probably in the past sort of 8 years really that I've been on that journey of really getting close to who I am
Mm.
and being and creating that relationship with that person, and not and maybe not so much knowing who I am, but maybe accepting who I am. I think it's the acceptance.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can get to that point where we know who we are, but then we're not accepting it because we still feel like, oh, I'm just a bit strange. I'm still not, good enough. How can this be? Whatever, we still bring all of these excuses to the table. But yeah, it's that acceptance that's really important. So, what did you do in terms of career? So, as you were growing up, obviously you said you had a difficult childhood. What did you do then once you left school? What sort of jobs did you do?
So I think I like to mirror the whole good girl thing.
Mm,
I followed a very traditional path, or as it happened, not traditional for my family because I was the first one that went to university.
okay.
Uh, I'm the only one that's been to university, so I went to university and, interestingly enough, studied mechanical engineering. Uh, Far cry from what I do now, but
Yeah.
yes, I was a mechanical engineer and then went into the corporate world. I worked for Rolls-Royce, Siemens, the big corporate engineering companies, and I worked there for 25 years and had a very successful career. And then in 2019, much to my family's horror, decided to quit that corporate job and to do my spiritual work full time.
Yeah. Did you do like a complete split? Did you decide, right, I'm just quitting my job and starting my this spiritual work, or were you doing that on the side?
I'd started my spiritual journey in 2014 by, as a lot of people have, a spiritual awakening around maybe a traumatic event.
Yeah.
So I had a complete breakdown in 2014 due to a few reasons, work stress, bereavement, marriage problems, things like that, that caused the breakdown. And it was through my recovery from that breakdown that I found spirituality, and not as in like a religion, but the therapy that I was going for. She happened to do spiritual modalities as well as counseling.
Yeah.
So she then opened me up to angelic healing, Reiki, sound healing, things like that. And then started talking about mediumship, animal communication, and various things that set me off on the path. So initially, while I was still working full time, my corporate job was paying very kindly for all of my training that I did. And then I started seeing clients, but just on a part-time basis. So maybe a couple of clients a week, just in the evening. And I started off doing healing and then moved through mediumship, and then ended up to, like you had said, it's not been a straight path. It's been a very kind of windy path that has led me to where I am now. And I still consider it's going to be ever evolving.
Yes. Yeah. And I wanted you to sort of it was important that you shared that, because you know, this, we can be unhappy where we are, but you can't just cut everything off and then move to the next stage. You know, it's like, it's a slow graduation. Again, going back to the journey. I did a very similar thing, worked in corporate for over 20 years, and then started my, business part-time, and then eventually sort of took that leap and that step. But yeah, it is like a something that happens, and like you said, a traumatic experience. And sometimes that, that it really affects me that we have to wait till a traumatic experience happens before we change our lives, and that's really hard thing to accept, or it makes me sad that we, most of us have to go through those places, or those experiences before we make the change.
It is, you're completely right. My guides, they share with me often that one, we get very much in our comfort zone. So to completely go onto a different track requires some kind of catalyst for us to jump from one path to another, because as humans, we tend to like cling to the known and to the comfort. And they also share the fact that nothing grows in your comfort zone. We, unfortunately, of how we are made, growth only occurs really through adversity.
Very, very true. Very
Which,
true.
like I say, is very sad. I'd much rather grow through the happy times, but they do say that the big growths are that adversity.
Well, if you think about it, you don't actually learn something unless you have to go through the difficulty of, trying to work it out, do you? If you think about anything in life, if you're learning something new, there's always this angst and this difficulty that you go through while you're trying to figure it all out. And that's the same with life, So it really does, it shapes us in a way that we can't even explain. But yes, going through all of the difficulties and the challenges are a big part of the change that we need to make in our lives. Would you say that, was there a time that you lost your way?
Yes, I think most definitely. I'll talk about like on my spiritual journey.
Yeah.
So we're going back 2014. I did lose my way a few years into it, that I just wasn't getting any joy from it.
Right.
It was so I'd been doing the training, and I always felt as soon as I started, it was like I had a hand at my back pushing me. I was quite accelerated through my training at that point. It was just doing one thing, then another. And I really battled a lot with mediumship. And I always struggled with mediumship. Particularly, it taught me so much, but particularly in the comparison, comparing myself to others. But there was something that kept on driving me forward. into training more, going to mentorship program, developing, practicing. But it was, and that kept me going. But then it was, I still remember, it was my main guide, Yeshua, came in through another person to say, where's the joy?
Mm.
And that was like one of those mic drop moments. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I hate doing this.
Mm.
And I had
Mm.
no joy. And he was saying, find your joy, find what lights you up.
Yeah.
And I was completely lost at that point, thinking, where do I go? What do I,
Yeah. Where do we even start if you
yeah,
start to think about, well, where's my joy?
what does bring me joy? Whereas I thought I was on the spiritual path and that's what you do mediumship and things. I'm going, well, no, no disrespect to anyone, but I don't like talking to dead people. It doesn't bring me any joy. Um, and I thought, well, where do I go? So I really felt quite lost on my journey and thinking,
Yeah.
well, what have I been doing all of this for? And that was when how I got out. Well, I don't know whether you call it out of it, but where I was, that stuck place, is I recognized I was a child at heart. Like little simple things kind of bring me joy, lightness, and I thought I've got to try and embrace that
Bring
aspect and
those
really
things
bring
in.
that to life.
Yeah.
So I started writing children's books. None of them have been published. I still have them, but it enabled me to reconnect with who I was in that,
Yeah.
because I love magic, I love unicorns and
Yeah.
rainbows and that, and by writing those books and going through those adventures and stories and all the magical land helped
Mm.
me to connect with joy again.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that story because one of the main questions that I do ask my clients is, what makes you happy?
Mm.
You know, what makes you happy? And like you said, sometimes we've forgotten what
Yeah,
makes us happy. You know, it's like it's that time where you sort of everybody stops and there's silence and they're trying to recollect what were the things that light you up and give you joy. And that was amazing. I loved when you talked about, you know, you loved writing stories and the magic and the children's stories and all of that, because you would think that's nothing to do with what you do, but that's you. But
yeah.
that's you. That's the in-depth you. And it's, you know, it's important that you know who that person is and what brings you joy, because then you can weave that into your life in some way, you know.
It is, and I often come across like people that it's like you get on a treadmill when and you're going round life, and there's not you only well, people come to me like at a certain point when they've just recognised that my God, I've lost my joy. It
Yeah.
doesn't bring me joy
Yeah.
anymore. And particularly, I think you'll be able to relate to this when you have your own business. That sometimes doing the stuff that you love is usually the sessions with clients, but having your own business is all the crap outside of that that can
Mm,
really kind of weigh you down and
yeah.
suck the joy out of what it is that you
Yeah.
do. And my guides are always talking about it's about finding that lightness, finding that joy. And it doesn't mean to say life is going to be unicorns and rainbows all the
No.
time,
No.
but by understanding what brings you joy and what brings you happiness and peace, I feel that is so important. And with me, it's the little things.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like massive, great big things and cost loads of money, but it is those little things that just bring me such joy.
Yeah. And it is about sprinkling it in. For me, I sort of think that sprinkle those little things in your life every day, you know, those things that bring you joy. Um, yeah. You mentioned this earlier. I think you touched on it that when you decided to leave your corporate job and do this, you know, much to the shock of everybody else, that was always a big shock when you decide to follow your dream, and especially when you're going to do something that's not what's considered to be the norm, and you know, it feels like you're coming out of something that's really secure and you're moving into a completely different area. So how scary was that? And when I asked that question, it is, okay, you knew you had to do it, but also we have the scary voices in our heads that say, oh, well, are we doing the right thing? Is this going to be right? So we have to deal with that. But also we have to deal with all the voices around us. So all the people around us that are saying all the negative things. Are you crazy? Are you mad? Why are you doing this? How scary was it for you? And what was the negative voices like for you as you transitioned and moved into this new area of your life?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. That it is a transition, and you say I dealt with the stuff internally, kind of first, and with me, it got to a stage where it was so uncomfortable where I was, even though I'd gone down part-time, and then I was working from home half of that time, and that was before working from home became like a normal thing.
Yeah.
But I'd managed to secure that with my lovely manager. But it was so uncomfortable working in that environment. The more I shifted and changed, the more I was not able to be in that kind of environment. And not that it was particularly toxic. It was like bringing me down. So I think it got that uncomfortable that I remember driving. I was going off to meet a friend for lunch, and as I'm driving, I tend to chat to my guides, and I said, "You show me the next step, I will take it. If you want me to jump off a cliff, I will take it." I get a bit dramatic. I'm going, show me the next step and I will take it. And that was then what got me the part-time bit. And I'm going, okay, how are we going to end this full-time? Show me it. And it nearly got to the stage where I had to get where I would fully commit to it. And then it was allowing that path to open up. So it was really surrendering into that. And it required me to get to that stage to recognize that in my corporate job, there are so many people in the world that can do that job. Even though I did it very well, I was nobody special. Like there was so many people in the world that could do that job. And to recognize that what I do, there's not many people in the world that can do what I do. And it was having that belief and just really sticking to that. And then it's the finances that I find tend to bring up the fear.
Yes. Yeah.
It's because having had 25 years of a secure income every month, the fear that loop of, oh, how am I going to pay my bills? And I'm just going, I hear you. It's all going to be okay. And even now, it's still on loop. We're going, oh my God, how are we going to pay the bills? What if all the clients dry up?
The next bit coming from, where's the next bit? It's like you have to move by faith. You have to live by faith. I mean, and when you were saying, asking the questions of your guides, and I do that in terms of, I pray and I ask God for guidance and what's my next step, and it is always, what's your next step? It's the next step. It's not the whole journey. It's the next step.
Yeah, and it is really understanding that key point that we only ever know the next step in front of us.
Yeah.
And my guide is very clear on that you don't need to know the big picture. You don't need to know kind of where you're going. And I go, okay, show me the next step, or I will prepare to take it. It's having that courage. And a friend reflected back to me several months ago now, because I was reflecting on my life and going, my God, how it has changed over the last few years, particularly, and all the opportunities that have come up and how I have shifted personally and business-wise. And she stopped and she said, because you say yes.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my goodness. And she says, every opportunity that came up and that continues to come up, you say yes. And that's huge. And that's not bigging myself up. That's it made me understand. I thought, yes, you're right, because I will say to my life, show me the next step, I'll take it. And I have that much faith and courage. No idea where we're going to end up. at all. I don't have everything figured out. I don't have hardly anything figured out. But having that courage to say yes to the opportunities that come up, and that has really, because there's so much stuff that I've been asked to do, and most people would have gone, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
At all. Find somebody else. And I did ask my my lot at one point when I was going, what the hell am I doing this? Surely there are so many other people that would be much better at doing this than me.
Yeah.
And they said to me that you say yes.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, God damn it.
And also you get to the point where you know whether it feels right for you or not. You might have those questions in your head, but actually, excuse me, actually it feels right. You know, somewhere along the line, it feels right that you do take that step. And actually, also, I find myself getting quite excited when I'm taking new steps or saying yes to something, because I know it's going to lead to something that I never even thought about. And I think, you know, experience has taught me that when I put myself in new spaces and have new experiences or take new kind of steps, amazing things happen, you know, that I could never in a million years have dreamt would happen, because we're so departmentalized in our heads, because we're thinking about the life that we're living now and the things that we can see now. But until you take that step and you see something else, it's like you don't know about it. So yeah, I actually get quite excited now about taking new steps, because I'm like, what kind of exciting conversations am I going to have in this next stage of my life?
And it is amazing. I mean, one of the key turning points for me was actually last November. And I knew it at the time. And I was saying on the day, I was saying, I know I'm going to look back on this moment in time and recognize, and get emotional, recognize that this changed everything.
Yes.
And it was that willingness to say yes, because I had signed up. I'd been asked in the summer to speak at the NEC, at the Mind, Body, Spirit event in November. So I was speaking on a stage there, never spoken at the NEC before, and I was quite comfortable with it. I submitted my title, I submitted the summary of what I was talking about, and I was going to be talking about divine union, about divine masculine, divine feminine energy. It's something that I'm very passionate and very knowledgeable about. Okay with that. I think it was the 2 days before, something else came out, a link for us to have a look at on their website.
Yeah.
And I looked, and I remember I'm reading it. I'm thinking, well, that's not what I'm talking about. And I contacted a friend. I said, if you read this, it sounds like I'm going to be channeling. And I went, oh, am I? And I got in touch with the organizers, and they went, oh, no, really, really sorry. It was our fault. We'll change it all around. And this is no disrespect to the person, they still made a hash of it. It still wasn't right. And it was so clear. There was a title, there was what I was talking about, there was my bio. She'd mixed the bio and put it as my talk and hadn't done. So when I realized that on the day before I was going down to Birmingham on the Saturday, on the Friday, I looked and I went, okay, I get the message. I'll channel on stage.
Right.
And for a channel, that is hugely out of your comfort zone, because for channeling, to get in that right deep space for channeling, you need quiet. I had no idea of the environment, where the stage was going to be, the amount of people. So all of that, the environment side, completely, I had no control over, but I just went, I'm in. And yeah, for the first time, I channeled Mary Magdalene live on stage. And it was amazing. And I knew that would be a huge turning point for me, and it has, and things have unfolded from there. And it was that moment that I just instantly went, okay, I'm in. Whereas everything in my human self should have been screaming and running for the hills and going, no way.
Yeah. But you leaned in.
Yeah.
But you leaned in. Yeah. Yeah, and it worked. I like that. Um, Really interesting conversation, but we're going to have to bring this to a close. But I've got some quick fire questions for you, Kirstie. Some of them I think you've answered anyway in a different way, different shape or form. But I'm going to quickly ask you them anyway, because I always do this right at the end of the podcast. Do you understand what makes you truly happy?
Yes, for me these days, it is that peace within me, that sense of calmness, that sense of anchoredness within me. It's
Yeah,
nothing external. These days, it's just all about what is inside of me.
yeah. Inner peace.
Mm.
Peace. Love that. How are you getting, oh, well, I think I know the answer to this, but how are you getting still to feel emotion?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
I always get asked to repeat this. How are you with getting still to feel emotions?
Yeah, I like the quiet, and
Mm,
so need to I need to have an environment where during the day I can get quiet, whether it's going into meditation, whether it's going out for a walk just in nature, to really be able to feel what's going on. Because, and it's something that I have really started to look at, particularly the past couple of years, because I was excellent at going upwards and getting those connections. I completely forgot that I have a human body with all the
yes.
emotions and everything that's going on. And I've really had to understand that to ascend, you have to descend, and it's about connecting with the body, with
Mm,
the emotions, and understanding the humanness. It's not just about being the divine; it's that connection and embracing all of what it is. So I allow time and quietness and space to allow any emotions and that to come up, and for me to be able to send it, because it isn't always peace and stillness
no, no.
within.
Yeah,
So I don't go around like Mother Teresa all the time, and I'm sure she had issues.
yeah.
Uh, but it's about honoring my emotions and honoring what needs to come up, whether it's grief or that I'm experiencing, when it's anger, and so that I can only do that when I create space for that quietness for me.
Yeah. And it's true what you say about, because you can't always find that exactly quiet place to sit and do it. But I think as well, but it's important to open yourself up internally to be able to hear those quiet voices, those things, that the emotions that move you. I usually give the analogy like where sometimes we are just going along, going along, going along, and especially when our lives are really busy. And then all of a sudden we stop and we look around and we're like, well, how did we get here?
Mm.
This isn't where I wanted to be. This isn't what I wanted to be doing. How did this happen? And this is, excuse me, this is entirely down to the fact that we just didn't give ourselves space to feel when things didn't feel right. And so, yeah, and this is the difficulty that happens so much in life.
It's creating that space. I was sharing with somebody this morning that this is a little extreme. Not suggesting anybody else does this in their life, but about 4 years ago now, and I do it on a yearly basis, I take myself off to a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
Okay.
So I go to North Wales,
Yeah.
to a Buddhist centre there. I'm not Buddhist myself, but I actually
Mhm.
quite like their teachings, and they love their silent meditation.
Yeah.
And I take myself out of the world for 10 days and sit and just be with me and
Oh my goodness.
meditate, and just in the silence where you just stop. You're not having to give anything, and I'm just there for me and to listen what goes on, uh, because it's only when you get into that silence that
Yeah.
you realize what old patterns are still going on in there,
Yeah.
what emotions are in there, and I give myself that gift every year.
So with those retreats, because I'm very interested in that, you don't speak for the 10 days, or do you have times when you do speak? Oh,
You The first day, you speak, so you kind of get to introduce yourself to people.
Yeah.
This Buddhist centre is quite small because I like that.
Yeah.
Some of them in the UK are over 100 people. That's too many people for my energy to
Okay.
be home within the silence. So yeah, you speak then, and then you come out of the silence the day before you leave.
Oh,
You have a
wow.
10-minute, you have a 10-minute meditation review every day. I think just to make sure that you're still alive and not going crazy or anything in the silence. But other than that, you're in the silence. There are teachings every day. So the people leading the retreat, they will teach whatever Buddhist teachings are appropriate to that theme of the retreat. So it's like you hear voices
Yes.
and
But you just
everything.
don't speak, or you
Yeah,
just sort of like, yeah.
the rest of the time
Interesting.
it's in silence, which and you're out in nature. So you tend to spend a lot of time just walking
Yeah.
and just being.
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. Have you found your tribe, Kirstie?
I think I have, from all of my life, never feeling like I fit in and always feeling an outsider. It is so beautiful. I find these days to have people that see me, that get me, and that I can connect with on that level. And it's so amazing when you feel that you have found your tribe on a
Yeah.
smaller level, as in like a small circle of friends, to the tribe that I have, as in, say, my business, my clients and stuff. I'm very fortunate. I seem to attract the most beautiful, beautiful clients,
Mm.
so heart-centered, and I'm so grateful to them. And it is just beautiful. They give me so much, and it is a wonderful feeling. And I think anybody that has always been an outsider can probably relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And finally, do you love yourself unconditionally?
I think on the unconditional bit, I'm aiming for the unconditional. I love myself now and I like myself now, and that has been a huge journey to get to that stage. I think I'm still working on the unconditional bit of it
Yeah.
because there are times when I'm my own worst enemy. I beat myself up for things. I'm thinking, yeah, if I love myself unconditionally, I wouldn't. So I am on a journey of speaking kinder to myself
Yes.
and nicer. But I can, hand on heart, say I do love myself and like myself. And it's not always the same thing, love
No,
and like.
no, yes.
And yeah, I'm working on attaining the unconditional aspect of that.
That's always a work in progress. I like
Yes.
to say, when you say you love yourself unconditionally, it's understanding that you are a work in progress. And
Mm,
so, like you said, when things aren't quite the way you want it to be and you start beating yourself up, instead of doing that, it is, no, I still love me because I'm learning and I'm still me and I'm still have to go through this path. And yeah, so it's totally understandable that you still have those times when you beat yourself up because yeah, we're human. We do.
yeah.
We do. We do. Kirstie, it's been an absolute joy and pleasure to have you on the podcast and to share your story and to share your pearls of wisdom as well. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you? Where's the easiest place to find you online? I will share your links with the podcast, but just so that they know.
Thank you. Yeah, the easiest ways to find me is either through my website, kirstielilith.com, or through social media. I'm quite active on Facebook, also on Instagram, and yeah, just under Kirstie Lilith, and those are the best ways to connect with me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. And thank you to all of my listeners for tuning in. I hope you have been inspired like I've been inspired. I'm going to be back next week with another amazing guest. But in the meantime, keep being the true you. Bye, everyone.